Joining feels taking over. No one can deny we're queens in our own rights. Got our fleet, we're ruling the game. Turning heads, yeah, we're making our own name. Living free, we're breaking the mold. Unapologetic, we're standing bold. Every picture we post, it's a story untold. We're inspiring souls, watch us unfold. Watch us unfold.
Welcome back to Rooted in Your Confidence, the show where real, heartfelt conversations with women working in male-dominated spaces, especially those holding it down, who are the first, the only, and the few. Today's guest is Tiffany Sims, a powerhouse coach, community builder, and the host of Two Humans Talking podcast, where real people share real stories without masks or titles. She's also the founder of Living One Step at a Time, the Modern Women's Society, and the CEO's Burnout Breakthrough Blueprint. Tiffany guides ambitious, high-achieving women to their next level without shame, burnout, or exhaustion. She is on a mission to help women reclaim their energy, find harmony between their careers, health, and relationships, and finally feel they don't have to trade their well-being to succeed. Welcome, Tiffany.
Girl, hi. Thanks for having me. Have you ever, you know what you do and you know what you've accomplished, but like you don't really think twice about it because it's your life, but then you hear someone else read it back to you and you like sit in it and you're like, man, wow, I did. Yes, that's
Like,
me.
I'm that chick, right? Doesn't it
Yeah.
feel when you're like, I did all of that? That's amazing. I am a winner.
That is a pretty beefy resume, my friend. Good job.
It is, right? Like,
Feel some kind of way to hear someone talk about you.
let me tell you something. That's what we don't do as women enough. We don't talk about what we've accomplished because we've been taught that that's bragging or you're being too, what word am I looking for?
And you're
Conceited.
full of yourself
Self.
and you're arrogant.
Yeah, but why not? Why not be full of yourself? Why not be arrogant? Why not brag on you? Because that's what I teach my clients. I teach them how to brag on themselves. They got a brag bag, and that's what I want every woman to have. Me, you, and everybody else. Like, we need to brag on ourselves because, look, your resume, if I do say so myself, is amazing. I love it. Look at
And
you.
it's only a fraction of it, right?
Oh, that's right. I was
And
like,
if we can't brag on ourselves, how are we supposed to get through the moments where we can't see the other side and it's hard? And I anchor into those things in a whole other list of like, oh, you didn't think you could do those things either, and look at you go.
I'm telling you that, but that's what life is. Us stepping into it scared, us stepping into it, the uncertainty, and allowing ourselves to whatever is the outcome, just embrace it. And I think it's always good because even when we think it's bad, it's a learning experience and we get to grow and stretch from that so much. So I'm all for it.
Thanks for having me. I jump right into everything as if I've known you for 12 million years. And
It
like someone
seems
just
like it.
coming into the middle of a conversation. I'm like, let's just go. Formalities.
No, it's really, I'm telling you because it is. I mean, well, I was on your podcast. Let's put it out there. I was on your podcast a few weeks ago, and I think we became acquainted then. And then we just had a wonderful talk about mics.
My pink one and your blue one and how inappropriate they look.
Yes, they do. And we have to sit on top of them.
Which is perfect for a conversation around what it's like to be a female in a male-dominated world.
Yes, it is. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to know about your experiences because before you was this kick-ass coach, this amazing human helping other amazing humans see themselves and be who they are, you worked in a male-dominated space. So tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I spent 12, 13 years somewhere in there. The math is fuzzy because it feels like a lifetime ago now. That person does not exist anymore. But I worked in nuclear power. I was a chemist. I kept your lights on. I put power on the grid. And so I worked at a power plant. Very male-dominated, very high energy, stress-oriented, pressure cooker work environment where everything was due last month and everything was little girl sit down and everything was like having to bolster yourself in a way where you're holding space for other people's egos in order to get your work done. Because it was a world of people who just, they were used to getting their way, and they were used to, most of them came from the Navy back when women weren't a part of the Navy. And so it was a transition for them to learn how to work in a workplace with women. And women assimilated and adapted to the male energy to get what they needed done and to show that they belonged in the leadership position, that it created this very murky, stressful, unnecessary peacocking
You're exactly right.
environment.
Yes.
Like, I don't even know where that sentence was going, but all the words were coming to the surface as I was talking about it. And so me being I'm a very bright, bubbly, energetic woman. And I had to learn how to navigate myself through that without losing myself, while also not shooting myself in the foot and closing doors to opportunities that I needed to be in.
I think that's the craziest shit, when you have to show up and become what this environment tells you to be, instead of allowing yourself to be that bubbly human that just gets along, laughs, brings joy to the room. Like, I think that's so insane, because like you, I'm bubbly, I'm friendly, but I found myself adapting and becoming who they needed me to be for them to be comfortable with who I was in that environment. And I believe I lost a lot of who I was for a long time until I made some shifts or some changes. What about you?
I love that you said that, because I have a slightly different take and viewpoint of it. I think that there is a time I think winning the game involves knowing what the board looks like and understanding the rules of the game and learning how to use them to your advantage. And I don't think that that means you have to lose yourself. I don't think that it means that you're being sleazy. I think it's recognizing what's in front of you, and you have to be so clear on who you are not to get lost in it. And so for me, one thing that I am very fortunate in, and maybe it's why it's part of my superpower for helping other people learn that now, is that I've never done anything to fit in. I have always allowed myself to be excluded because I wasn't willing to lose myself or do things that went against my values. And so I've been that way for a really long time. And when it came to nuclear power, I learned that I could be far more successful if I understood what was important to the people around me and leaned into that without losing myself, rather than trying to force them to see the world my way. Because my job wasn't to change their mind or to see the world my way. My job was to get some shit done. And to do that, one of the best ways that I found was learning what was important to the person sitting across the table from me. And so if I was talking to an executive member, what was important to them in their role? It was meeting KPIs. It was understanding what ROI on big projects were. It was, how are they going to win at their position based off of what I'm trying to get done? And I would talk to that when I'd have a big project. Whereas I would go down to the maintenance shop, where those guys, they love fart jokes and like cars and all that stuff. Well, what was important to them? It was not getting called in on a Saturday afternoon after they promised their wife date night for the last 5 months that they haven't been able to fulfill on. And so when I would talk to them about a project, I would talk about how it was going to make sure that they were home on the weekends. Not that we didn't love overtime, but to allow them to not have to come in every Saturday and miss their kids' lives. And so instead of forcing them to see the world my way, I said, what's in it for them? What's important to them? And how can I leverage this to make sure we all win together? And not to say, Sam, that doesn't mean that I didn't have moments where like I tried on a pair of pants that weren't for me, but I had to be comfortable enough with myself to try some pants on that might not have fit, just to try to be like evolve into the person I wanted to be. And so it wasn't about losing myself, but it was about learning the skills and requirements to become the person I wanted to be, which was helpful and good at my damn job, and to be heard and respected and have a seat at the table, even if that meant I had to bring my own.
No, and I get that completely. And I think that was something that over time, I never conformed, but I did become someone that I wasn't happy with. Like I was that person like you. I wanted to sit at the table, but if not, I would sit over on the other side. But then I got to the point where, why should I? Why should I'm not asking them to change? I'm not asking them not to tell fart jokes. I'm not asking them to invite me out.
Sometimes I legit did. I'm like, dude, can you just wait till I leave the room?
No,
I'm good.
Look, they can do whatever they want to do over there, but they're in front of me. You know what I mean? It's a degree of respect that came with it. Like, okay, you're who you are. I'm not asking you to change that, but you will respect me in this space. And asking for that and standing in that. And that's what I work on and worked on myself with, like, no, that don't fit into what I'm doing right here. And I don't think that I should transform and be with you. No, because women are good to transform and to become with everybody else
We're very
wants
good
them
at
to be.
chameleoning. You're a good
Yes.
chameleon.
And I just refuse to do that. I refuse to continue to, like, oh God, I'm unhappy. And if I speak up, because a lot of things went with speaking up, a lot of things went with not being able to shine, or because they were shining. But at that point, once I became confident enough within myself and standing in that, that's when my shift changed. Because other than that, I was that woman that was like, oh, well, they're in the front. Okay, this is their job. I'm on it, because I assisted mechanics. I stood in holes and I did paving work and I did all of those things, and I let the mechanic lead. But I did have ideas. I was that bright and shining star. I didn't want to step out into it and be seen and
Yep.
dismiss them. So for me, it was being able to still shine in that. Oh, back to where we started at. Still be that amazing woman. Still be able to show up. Still be brave
Now,
enough.
don't get me wrong. There were plenty of moments where I had to stand in my own and know who I was and not allow myself to be spoken over. The time, like, so silly. When I first started my career in nuclear power, when women would say things like, oh, they're being sexist and I'm being discriminated against, I genuinely was like, you're making shit up. Like, and some of them just couldn't handle, like, they weren't good at their job and they were blaming it on being a woman for why they weren't getting the promotion. It's like, actually, do the least amount of work. You are the least team player person I've met. You're really bad at this. Like, that's why you didn't get the job. Like, it's not because you're a woman. It's because you haven't developed the skills required to do the job you wanted. Like, that's a different conversation. But then I also recognized that, like, as I progressed in my career and as I got further and further into the rooms where there were no women but me, I very much started experiencing that exact sentiment. And there one time that's standing out in my brain in particular, when I was in an executive meeting, I sat in all of them a lot. And the plant manager at the time had said he was going to have a one-off meeting around something, that he wanted to table the topic that the meeting was for, and that we'll have a one-off. And I just kindly said, when you schedule that, will you make sure, or his assistant put me on the invite? I would like to be there. And he said, no, like, don't worry your pretty little head about it. We'll take care of it. I'll let you know the decision. And I don't know where it came from, but out of my mouth came, the only reason you don't want me in the room is because you know what you're doing is wrong and you know I won't sit for it. And then I sat there and I was like, well, now you just got to let it land, Tiff. Like, and I was like, today's the day. Like, today's the day you get fired. Like, that was the line. You crossed it. And I am like, but I'm not wrong. And I needed to say what I needed to say. And his words back to me were so inappropriate that I had to protect myself in a room full of directors that should have been protecting me as their employee. And I was the one protecting the whole space because they were so scared to write. Like, they were so nervous to, like, say something because they knew what the closed doors conversations were going to be like. And they should have been protecting me rather than me protecting the room. But at the end of the day, and like, I leave that room and I'm already like panicking because I was like, well, Tip, like, sometimes we need to learn how to keep our mouth shut. Like, that was not the right time or place. And I want to pause on that for a second, because it's not always keeping your mouth shut, but there is something, I think that there is an elegance in knowing time and place for having a conversation. And sometimes the place isn't that moment and it needs to be a closed door. Like, we need to talk about what just happened. And I got into the hallway and one of the directors stopped me and said, nice work in there, Ms. Sims. And I was like, and I paused and he said, you said what no one in that room was willing to say, because I should have been the one to step up and protect you. And I didn't. And all I could think in my head in that moment was, Tip, don't let this get too big in your head. Do not take this as a permission slip. Like, you got lucky today. But so many people in the room were so afraid to speak up for what they knew was right because they just didn't want the consequences. And I was just like, and I, to my core, like you were saying before, like, I know that this is wrong and that you are making decisions that are not appropriate. And I want to be a part of the conversation. Maybe we still make them, but I want to make sure that everything is on the table so that when this goes the wrong way, it is literally all documented that you had everything you needed and that this doesn't, not just doesn't come back to bite me, but that I don't know what the rest of that sentence is, but there's those times where it was just like, man, I literally got shushed by an old white man who had been in his position, whose ego got hurt because he was getting pressure from somewhere else and told me to sit down and be quiet. And I was like, absolutely not.
And that's my thing. I think that we have been so conditioned that we feel that we have to do these things in order to survive. So that's what keeps us from thriving. I think you being able to speak up, being able to say what was on your mind, it may not have been the right moment, but it was the necessary thing to do. And once we're in these jobs and in these positions, and especially with that shh and that hush, absolutely not. We're not hushing. And
We're
I
not
remember,
hushing it.
yes, and I remember being in those places, like I said, where I thought I had a place. And that's conditioning that we've been taught over time that this is what we're supposed to do in order to belong in those rooms. Because in the back of our minds, we don't actually, we know we belong there, but we don't believe it until we start speaking up.
You know what's interesting and what that in like what those many interactions taught me was that one, it was teaching me time and place, and that actually, while I thought maybe it wasn't the right time and place, it actually was the perfect time and place. And so it started teaching me, I started learning the differences between when now and when later. And I think you don't learn that until you've been in it and you get to feel that out through experience. And it also taught me that it wasn't just a female thing, that the men in the room that I would have thought would have no problem peacocking up were keeping their mouths shut to protect themselves because they were also in survival mode. And that opened my eyes to a whole different world that I didn't know existed of what it meant to get really clear on who I was, what my core values were, and what I believed to be true, so that no matter what room I walked into, no matter what the environment was before I got there, that I was firm in who I was so that I didn't compromise my values and I brought the best of me to the room, no matter what everyone else was doing. And so it was like those mini moments of like learning how to define myself as I went. And I would like to say that we can teach that from day one, but I do think that there's some of that you just don't know until you're in it, until you know what the opposite of what you want feels like. And that's a hard thing for me to like wrap my head around, even the fact that I said that out loud.
No, but it's the truth though. A lot of things we don't know, but what happens is everyone isn't in a space where they learn it or they make it something that's a bad thing that keeps them from showing up. It keeps them from talking about it because then shame is placed upon them. And they're like, oh God, did I do that? Did I say that? From now on, they cower and they get scared and they hide. Fear keeps us from showing up. And that's what it is. Not that you did the wrong thing by speaking up, but the fear of the after effects is what was like that questioning now, regardless of everything else that went on, that it was a good job, it was great. Oh, what if they fire me? What if they say something to me? What if they blackball me? All the things that come into our minds when we're sitting in the room and we're speaking up and we're standing up and we're allowing ourselves and all our accolades, all our degrees, all of our know-how gets pushed down and we no longer stand in that and believe in it. When we can't stand in our own and stand in our own belief system, then we start to hide. And that's what happens to a lot of women, that fear of not being enough, being too much. Because let me tell you, I've been told I was too much. I've been told that I was over the top.
I am a strong I am a
yes.
strong eye on a disc assessment.
Yes,
Girl.
I'm telling you. And honey, I was, what the fuck was that?
Too much my whole life.
Yes, what the fuck did he tell me? He told me I was too animated. So I've been all of that. And when me being all of that, because fear set in that I wouldn't be accepted, that I wouldn't be liked, that made me step back. And that's what happens to women. We start, just like you questioned yourself, but you were able to push through and persevere. A lot of women don't. So that's where that relearning and stepping out again.
We do, or in in response, what I see a lot of women do is they posture up and then they get really aggressive, or they start to get louder, thinking that if I get louder, if I take up more space, or if I just dig myself into the sand, they won't be able to knock me over. And so we become aggressive and like almost robotic, trying to protect ourselves. And that doesn't really work either, because now we're fighting against our team, trying to like hold our own. And I don't know about you, but I've never met a person that actually listens to me when I'm yelling at them.
No. And that's
So
what
now
happens.
I'm counterproductive to the thing that I am. And now I really am being the squeaky wheel, and I am like just being loud and noisy and not productive and anti-team, because I forgot how to be a team, because I'm so worried about being protected and surviving.
And that's what
You
happens.
can't lead from survival, though. You cannot lead from survival. It doesn't matter how good you are as a leader, or how perfectly you may be for a position. If you are just trying to protect yourself, you cannot lead from that space.
You cause so much animosity. You cause, as a human being, when you lead from there. I've been in a situation where I did have a boss that was a woman. You know, me having worked in the male-dominated industry, you see a boss like, oh, plant manager, she's doing big things. But she led with fear that someone was going to do something to her, fear that someone was going to get over, fear of this. And she
Fear that there's
made
not
it
enough at the top.
Right. And that they don't want. And that's what puts us against each other. But she was so afraid of everything that she made it about the rest of the world. And it was anger all the time. So we have to be mindful of how we show up. And once we get rooted in everything inside of us, when we get and understand us, we show up differently. We give differently. I don't know about, I mean, that's what you said in the beginning too, but that's what it all amounts to. Tapping into here, that internal struggle that we're having of what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, who's looking at us, all the things.
Well, when you said like her being cold and protective and all the things, how many times, I don't know about you, but I cannot count it on my hands and toes, the number of times that I was told that I got an opportunity because I had a vagina.
Oh, yeah. Please, let me tell you something. I
And
just
so
don't get that. I get because you're a black woman. And I check all the boxes. I've been told that. And then let me tell you what they do. They go, and, you know, I'm just joking. No, you're not.
No,
Because
you're not. You're
that's at the front.
insecure about my success. And you're trying to make sense of something. You're trying to make sense why you didn't get something that I did. And so you are bringing every little string that you can to this conversation to own the fact that you weren't selected, because that's a hard pill to swallow.
I'm telling you. And that's what comes, and that's what creates our insecurities also, because of their bullshit. But not
against it.
Yes. Instead
But
of
you know what?
listen,
I'll tell you something. Go ahead and tell me I only got it because I am a woman with a vagina, or for you because you're a black woman, and be like, you are damn right I did, because I have had to work 20 gazillion times harder to be seen
That's
and
right.
heard and valued. So I'm actually way more qualified than you because I've been putting in more reps than you have. So
any day of the
let's
week.
just call it what it is. And I hate saying that because it feels so minimizing, but it's also true. If you're a minority, and I think that men in general, specifically white men, are going to experience this because it's a hard time to be a white man. It is a hard time because you are not getting anything. It doesn't matter how good you are. Like the world's trying to correct something that you didn't create, and you're stuck at the bottom of that. Sorry about it.
But it's like
But you're gonna
anything, it's
learn.
conditioning.
You are going to learn what it's like to have to overperform in order to be seen. And that is just going to, like, that sucks for you. And I'm sorry, because it sucks. But it's going to be what happens.
It does suck.
And you're going to come out on the top on the other side.
You think so? Do you really think they'll be on the top on the other side?
I think that I'd like to believe that once the pendulum swings all the way the other direction, that the pendulum will find its way to the middle and everyone will have a space. That there will be space, and that I hope that it is a space where the people who should be in those positions because they're the right choices get to rise to the top for no other reason than they were the right choice. Not because we're trying to correct for something.
Yeah, I think that.
Do I think that'll happen in my lifetime? I don't think it will. But I would like to think that that's the future where, wow, we're going to go there. I'm just going to say it. Get your tin hat ready. I'd like to think that there will be a day where You don't put your gender or your race or any of those things on bank documents, employment applications, any of those things that would allow you to be put in a box. And we just truly look at what the skill and the assets for what they are to decide who the best fit is. Because I don't know.
I think that would be an ideal world for us to live in. Like you, I'm hoping and praying for my generations after me, to my grandchildren, maybe their children, to see that, where they're just judged, where they're not, when they're called in for the interview, they're not looked at. They're not judged because of gender or race.
Yeah. Do I want a job because you think I check a box?
No.
I want you to give me, I want it because I am the best to do it. And I don't want that to be a question. And I don't want to be given something that I damn well know someone else should have gotten, but because they didn't check the right box, they didn't get it. Like, that's a shitty feeling.
And I think we're made to feel that way because, like you said earlier, I think a lot of times, most times, women who go into any environment that they're not populated, meaning more than 10%, more than 20%, we go in 10 times better. We study harder. We do better. We test better. So we're qualified. So because of all of those things, and knowing that we're a minority, we fight. And it's sad that you have to go in and fight for your place. And you shouldn't have to make your seat at the table. You shouldn't want or have
Girl,
to.
I'm building my own tables. I'm not worried about other people's tables and seats. I'm out here building my own table.
I'm building my tables, but for those people that don't have that opportunity to build a table, that have to sit there, that's not, say, in having their own business or having this or their own, making their own communities. It's women that's there. And they have to figure it out why they're there. Because everyone is not doing what we do. So what do we do to help them and educate them and pull them and allow them to elevate and not get stuck, you know what I mean? And not get caught up in that merry-go-round where they're just still on there and they're still standing and they're still not believing in themselves and they're still down there because the men or the people in that environment are picking pieces away because they don't look like everyone else, because they're asking for what they deserve, because they're standing in that. And
I think that is creating your own table. I don't think you have to be a business owner or community builder to build a table and to set yourself apart. I think you get really clear on what it is that you want, what you want to be known for, how you want the world to receive you. And then you go do everything in your power to learn how to become that version of yourself that you want to be. Not because you think it'll make you fit in, but because you said that this is who I want to be. And then you own it. And when the people who choose to own it, they will rise to the top and stand out because they will look different than everyone around them. And you can do that in someone else's containers. You don't have to create them for yourself to create your own table seat at the table.
Right.
Well, and I think that we live. Yeah, I think that one thing that used to really bother me when I worked in nuclear power was how many people would say they wanted something and then bitch and complain that their boss wasn't creating opportunities for them. They weren't signing them up for this class. They weren't giving them this opportunity. And I was over there taking classes at the community college, going and signing myself up for things that no one offered me because there were things that I identified in myself that I thought were deficiencies that I wanted to improve on. I wasn't waiting for someone to create those opportunities for me. I went and got them myself and then leveraged them. That's how I got the positions that I got. It was when I sat in the interview and they asked you those questions about your strengths and your weaknesses. I was able to show all of the things that I thought were delinquencies and deficiencies and how I went outside of my work environment to make them my strengths.
And I do. And I see that. And I get that. And no, say for me or for you, these are learned things that I learned that, hey, I get to show up. I get to be me. I get to stand in mine and I get to go after me. But everyone hasn't gotten to this point yet. You know, I made my own. I have my own table. I'm good. When I tell you I'm good, I come in fully prepared, bold, brave. I'm speaking to whatever, however, and I have a conversation. I can speak to whatever. But everyone has not gotten there yet.
Which is why we have this podcast. Yes. So that they can start receiving those ideas and start thinking to ourselves, what could I do a little differently? Or what could I learn from that episode that I can go take action on today? I think that's how we do it. I think we lead by example. We share where we've been. We've shared what we overcome and some of the skills that we had to develop because we didn't just wake up this version of ourselves. And by doing that, we're leading by example and modeling the way of what it could look like for someone else to break the mold.
Yeah, we get to be different. We get to change it. We get to let the world see how bold and brave we are. Because even as my chair is sinking lower and lower, I'm like, what is happening?
My chair does that cheering. You feel like you're in an elevator. You're like the kid who's like...
Yes, and I hope everyone gets to see that, and I don't edit that out. But it was going lower and lower. That's what it is. And that's why I created this podcast, for women to know that they can stand. They can speak up. They can be brave without giving away pieces of themselves.
You don't have to give. Yes. And you get to go collect the pieces back that you didn't mean to give away.
Yes. And you get to, oh my God. And when you put them back, or you get a new piece that fits the new person. Oh my God. I just had this conversation. The new piece of you, the pieces that you didn't even know that you had. That's when something goes in. That's when growth happens. That's when you really light up. That's when you change the world. Because a lot of times we don't know as humans what we're capable of doing because we've never given ourselves the opportunity. Oh my God. Yes.
Yes. There's two things that came up for me just now as we're wrapping up. And that is, one, it's okay to pack a backpack of all of the skills and habits and coping mechanisms that you developed to survive the hardest years of your life. It's okay to pack them up, put them in a bag, and leave them on a park bench, because I guarantee you there's a woman who's in survival mode who needs them. And it's okay to like let them down without the anxiety and the guilt and the how did I let this happen to me? Like, it's okay to be like, I am so grateful that I used those tools to survive to bring me here. And I don't need them anymore. They serve their purpose. And I get to go collect new skills and habit and personality traits that I want to be a part of my identity. And I get to practice doing that over and over again until I become the person that I have, like the woman of my own dreams. Like, you literally get to become the woman of your dreams. And it starts just that small, letting go of the things that aren't working for you and collecting the things that help strengthen the skills and qualities that you love about yourself.
You know what? And I'm going to leave that right there because we have to wrap up. And you said so much amazing things. Tiffany, thank you for coming. Tell people where they can reach you. Tell people who, because look, you said so many amazing things. So tell my guests, tell my listening
tell your
audience.
People.
Yes, tell my people where they can reach you if they want to reach out, say hello, and thank you for your words of encouragement.
Every woman I talk to says, if I had 5 minutes, I could change the world. And so I want to help you get an hour back in your day as soon as tomorrow to give you time to go learn all these wonderful skills we talked about. So just DM me the word time, TIME, over on Instagram or Facebook. It's at the Tiffany Sims, SIMMS, and I'll send that guide over to you. Absolutely my gift to you for being here. And I just wish you the best. You can literally build anything you want one step at a time.
That is amazing, Tiffany. And before I go, wait, don't leave yet. I have to ask you, what does it mean to you to be rooted in your confidence?
Getting to know who I am every single day and who I want to be is what rooted in my confidence means. Because you can't shake that. I know myself. And so that's where all of my confidence comes from, is getting to know me.
That was awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, Tiffany, it was real and it was great.
It was so real.
Yes. I'm telling you, it was. And I just want to say that thank you again for being here. And to my guests, until next time, stay rooted in your confidence. And remember that confidence doesn't need permission. Sis, you don't have to twist, shrink, or hide. You deserve to be seen, heard, and valued for exactly who you are. If this episode spoke to you, make sure you follow, subscribe, so you never miss the conversation. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, take my confidence quiz. The link is in the show notes. Or book a session with me to start showing up in your career and life with the confidence you deserve. Until next time, walk through the door differently, show up, show out, be you, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Strong and fierce, taking over. No one can deny we're queens in our own right. Swagger on fleek, we're ruling the game, turning heads. Yeah, we're making our own name. Living free, we're breaking the mold. Unapologetic, we're standing bold. Every picture we post, it's a story untold. We're inspiring souls, watch us unfold. Watch us unfold. Capture the moment, hold it tight. Every click, every flash, we're shining so bright. Through the lens, we're showing who we truly